were forcing Russia to host this thing after a ban in place that did not allow for Russian representation. So it was a youth competition. So Russian children would be competing in their home country, they'd be the hosts, and they would not be allowed to represent their country. Which is like, well, FINA sides with, I mean, there's a bunch of bans this year with FINA and LEN where they've taken the side of the Ukrainians. So they've taken sides in a war, and wars are violent, which means they support violence of Ukrainians against Russians. It's a wartime tactic. They were trying to force these Russian children to make it look like they're defecting on their country because it's a wartime tactic. Like, there's the ethics of or lack of ethics, considering it's an international governing body, and shouldn't they be, or world governing body, and shouldn't they be neutral? They're not neutral, right? So if they're rolling out wartime tactics on Russians, they side with Ukraine. So that's how they justify their wartime tactics on Russian children. And they just were like, we're going to strip Russia of the competition and ban all Russians. So that's what they did. So in that sense, it was actually a victory for Russia, instead of having these people coming and forcing their children on their own land in their own home country to not even be allowed to represent their country, which is just like beyond heinous of a crime. So I would support Russia leaving FINA and leaving LEN. So FINA is the world governing body for aquatic sport, and LEN is the European governing body for aquatic sport. And it's put bans on Russians, it's put bans on Belarusians. So maybe Russia and Belarus should leave. I'm Norwegian. I would leave, and I'm Norwegian. So maybe there's the possibility of joining Asia. Russia spans 2 continents. Or it could start its own thing. So there's that. So it could go to Asia. It could start its own thing, right? Be like, let's say, the world governing body for aquatic sport, FINA, there's like if I'm recalling, there's like 200 and some countries on this planet, and there's only 100 and some members. National Swimming Federation members for FINA, so it's not representative of planet Earth by any means. So in that sense, it's not leaving the world governing body being like, we don't want to be one of your members anymore. You've mistreated us, and we're taking a stand for our people and that kind of stuff. But we still want to have competitions. So that's the hard part, because Russia's really good at swimming. So where do they compete if they're not allowed to compete, and they step back and are like, we don't want to be a part of this governing body anymore? Well, they could team up with countries that aren't part of FINA, aren't part of LEN, and be like, hey, we're all loners. Let's us loners start our own thing. So the Asia one has been the most, well, it's kind of the most obvious solution, but just because something's the most obvious solution doesn't mean it's the right solution. I know a lot of Asians, not all Asians by any means. I've gone through periods in my life where 100% of my friends are Asian. Like, or I have one white friend, so European descent friend. And Asians are not bad. Like, there's no race where blatantly everybody is bad. In my experience, that's not true. It's also true that there's no race that is uniformly good. It's mixed bag for everything. So this is not by any means representative of all Asians. However, there is a tendency for Asians, at least at this point in time in the United States of America, to promote themselves as coming up with every invention can be traced back to them in some form or another. However, it is also true that, like, universally, I have found that people agree we live in a sad state of the world. So if Asians are taking credit for starting everything or being the originators of everything, technically aren't they to blame with the sad state of the world, because they are not paying attention to their legacy and making sure things aren't being used for bad use? I mean, everyone comes up with something first. The first comes with an accountability angle, which in other terms can be, if something goes wrong, blame can be assigned to the originator. Which is why originals and firsts are not a standard, like, business thing. It's like, sometimes it's good to just ease into things. So in that sense, and there tends to be a lack of the people who push Asia as like the first for everything, also don't want to take responsibility for the state of the world. or pollution in like China and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of like, all right, so we can discount those people. Maybe Russia should just start a new party. Like, not political party. This is like the fun kind of party, you know? Get like other countries that have been severely neglected or mistreated and or don't have a place to go. Let's frame it happily. If you don't have a place to go and they want to have a new competition and be part of a governing body, just make something new. So there's the possibility of joining Asia, but there's also the possibility of just make something new. It wouldn't be the first governing body, right? But it could be a new governing body. Okay. And then last topic of this just talking session, triple Pisces in my family. So there's at least 3 Pisces in my family. So with my newly discovered real birthday, 26 February 1993, I'm a Pisces. It's my astrological sign. Me, my dad's sister, so my aunt, and my dad's mom are all Pisces. We got 3. Oh, yeah. I think that's part of why we chose to celebrate my half birthdays as like my full birthdays, is my aunt and my grandma can get like really into it about, they get really possessive about this is their birthday time. So putting my birthday really close to theirs. Oh, I think that's 3 Pisces. Yeah, I think so. It's like February 19th to March 20. If that's right, then I think that's right, 3 Pisces. But point being, their birthdays were already close enough that my parents made a very wise decision of not putting celebrating my birthday close to theirs. We still don't. Yeah. I want that passport with my real birthday, man. I don't want to live with my soulmates. So that's my just talking today, Tuesday, 8 November 2022.